ESPN's Field Yates dropped a 2-round mock draft, so I thought we'd take a look at it and react to the 2 picks he made for the Browns. So welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Let's start by getting right to pick number 1, which is Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. No surprise, in my opinion. Followed by, drumroll please, Abdul Carter, defensive end out of Penn State. Let's pause right here and let's talk about Abdul Carter for a moment because his name continues to come up in mock drafts. It's hard to avoid seeing Abdul Carter to the Browns at number 2. And at this stage, it appears that it's Hunter versus Carter, and it's kind of like when Walter Mondale ran for presidency. Like there's only one person voting for Travis Hunter. Everyone else is on Abdul Carter to the Browns train right now. So the way I look at it and the way I've not reacted, but the way I've interpreted things is Andrew Berry continues to talk very highly of Travis Hunter. Kevin Stefanski has talked very highly of Shedeur Sanders. And then this past week, Jimmy Haslam talked very highly of Abdul Carter. So I don't know if one guy's going to get his way over the other, if they all equally like those players or what, but when there's smoke, there's fire. And look at the smoke right now. Field Yates going with Abdul Carter for the Browns. Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, you guessed it. Lance Zierlein from the NFL Network, Abdul Carter. Matt Miller from ESPN, Carter. Mel Kiper, Carter. Daniel Jeremiah, Carter. Everyone is going with Abdul Carter to the Browns at number 2. And as we are just over 3 weeks away from the draft, it just seems like too much smoke to ignore. Now, the one thing that's sitting in the back of my head, if I have to do a video about why did the Browns pass on Abdul Carter, I think we could look back at the NFL Combine. When the Browns did not really do a lot of homework on Carter, the 2 names, Browns, Carter, did not come up in the same breath much. But that was in February. Things can change from then. A lot of times teams like to use misdirection, right? They've got their pick in mind, so they don't bother spending a lot of time in the Combine. They wait till they bring him in for a pre-draft visit to give teams this sense of misdirection. But at this stage, I feel very confident that Abdul Carter is going to be the pick for Cleveland. If it's not him, my money's on Travis Hunter. Now, with Carter, this would be an incredible defensive line. It's already incredible because it has Myles Garrett on it. But you add in Malik Collins and Shelby Harris, who have some good pass rush upside for playing on the interior, plus upcomer Mike Hall, who is hopefully going to be ready for training camp. And then pair Garrett with Abdul Carter, and this is going to be maybe what like the Broncos were hoping for in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, but injuries got in the way of that. I think it's going to be as good as Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney, probably better than that. So between Carter and Hunter, if you had to make the decision at number 2, who would you select? I'm going Abdul Carter. I was kind of cold on Hunter compared to the rest of the country 2 months ago because I always viewed him as playing just one position in the league. And if he only played corner or receiver, was he a good enough corner or receiver to go number 2 overall? I think there is more upside to him than I gave him credit for a month ago because I think teams are going to use him on defense or in the Browns' case on offense and then find some packages for him on defense. But if the Browns' strategy for Hunter is he's a wide receiver, which is what Andrew Berry said at the Combine, it's not easy to play wide receiver and a little bit of corner. Whereas I think vice versa, you can play corner and a little bit of receiver a lot easier. Moving on here, let's kind of fast forward through the rest of round number 1. Shedeur and Travis Hunter follow suit. Then we've got the Jags on the clock at number 5 going with Mason Graham. This could be a good trade back option for Cleveland, followed by Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. Then Armand Membou to Mizzou. Jalon Walker is a Carolina Panthers. He's going to be just a great all-around defensive player. So those are the top 8 players right there. In a moment, we have Will Campbell going off the board here. So I want to stop right here and just talk about Campbell because this is, in my opinion, a really good trade back option as well. Where if the Browns decide, hey, we don't want to pick at number 2, we want to go back a little bit, I could see this being the selection for Cleveland to replace Jed Will. So that's where Campbell goes, number 10 overall to the Bears. Then you've got the 49ers and the Cowboys on the clock. Walter Nolen off the board to San Francisco, followed by McMillan to Dallas. McMillan's stock has really shot up lately. Will Johnson, one of my favorite players in this draft, going to Miami. Then Tyler Warren, finding a home in Indianapolis. Atlanta selects Mike Green, who led the country in sacks last season. Kelvin Banks, a interesting tackle prospect. I'm not super high on him. He goes to Arizona in the middle of round 1. And then we've got 17 coming up next. But really quickly, I was looking at the analytics for the month of April. Very early, I know, just 2 days in. But we do have a 1-sub lead right now on our foes over at Steelers Talk. So if you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to stick it to them, that the Browns, believe it or not, with the recent NFL rule change, bringing back more stats and championships from the 40s into the NFL record books, Cleveland now has more world championships than Pittsburgh. So as long as you include NFL championships, yeah, the Browns on top of Pittsburgh. At 17, the Bengals beef up their interior O-line. The Seahawks go with my favorite receiver in this draft class, Matthew Golden out of Texas. Georgia safety Malachi Starks going to the Buccaneers. Omarion Hampton is off to Denver to be their new starting running back. Then we've got Jackson Dart going off the board to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's pause right here and talk about Dart for a moment because I could see the Browns having interest in Dart at pick 33 and potentially trading back into round 1 to select Dart to get that 5th-year option. I personally would not give up more than the 1 draft pick you'd use on Dart to secure him. I just feel like the question marks surrounding him don't warrant giving up valuable draft capital to go from 33 back into round 1. If you can find a way to go from 33 to like 32, which is what the Panthers did last year to get Xavier Legette, okay, that's going to cost you like a 5th or 6th. That part I can deal with. That's not a big issue for me. But jumping from 33 to 21, 22, somewhere in that range, yeah, not too interested. Colston Loveland reunites with Harbaugh in LA. The Packers add to their pass rush with Michael Williams. Then the Minnesota Vikings bring in a very versatile corner in Jahdae Barron, who I think can play inside and play outside. This is a player I want to highlight as a potential pick at 33 for Cleveland with the way Denzel Ward's injuries. He played well, but the injury concerns, but the way Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome played last year, plus Grant Delpit just didn't quite look as good as he did pre-contract extension. Rodney McLeod retired. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea at 33 to add a Swiss Army knife in your secondary, and that's what Barron is. He did an outstanding job in that role last year for the Longhorns. Getting back to round 1, and then we're going to look at round 2. Donovan Jackson goes from Columbus to Houston. Maxwell Harrison is off to the Rams. The Ravens, what do you know? Adding more pass rushers. They love to do that. James Pierce from Tennessee. Derek Harmon to the Lions follows that. And then to round out round number 1, we're going to look at picks 29 through 32 in just a moment. But I do want to give a big special shout out to our friends over at Fanatics for having this awesome Browns draft hat. I like the guitar emblem on the side of it. If you're with me, go to chatsports.com/CLE draft. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. Nick Emanwari, the Gamecock, goes to the Commanders. Josh Connerly, the left tackle from Oregon, across the country to New England. The Raiders trade back into round 1 with the Chiefs to select Luther Burden, the Mizzou receiver, and then the defending Super Bowl champions, Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell, going to Philadelphia. So that is round number 1. Now let's turn the page and look at round 2, where the Browns begin day 2 with pick number 33 and select Tyler Shough, quarterback out of Louisville. This is one of the fastest rising names I've seen in a quarterback in recent memory if he truly does end up going in the top 50 or so of the draft. He was looked at as like QB 9 or 10 back in January. I think Mel Kiper's first big board may not have even had him in the top 10. And here he is going pick 33 to start round 2. So some background. 1, Brandon Weeden vibes. He's 25 years old. He's going to turn 26 by the time week 1 kicks off. So not ideal, let's be honest. He's bounced around a lot, started at Oregon. He backed up not Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. Then he goes to Texas Tech, where for 3 years he had 3 season-ending injuries. He's an aggressive runner, and that paid a price, and he took injuries in a lot of those runs. Then he has 1 healthy season at Louisville, and that's where he really blossomed. So a quick compliment sandwich for him. Sneaky arm talent. I think if you stacked up everyone's highlight reels, but you know that feature where you can kind of like black out the quarterback and it does like a weird coloring trick and you don't really know who it is, but you got to guess based on their body movements. You might watch his highlight reel and go, wow, that's the best quarterback in this draft. And then you're just surprised to learn that wasn't Cam Ward. That's this Louisville quarterback I'm just hearing about now. That's him in a nutshell. Now, the con is for every 2 good plays, there is one what the fuck happened just there. Like, there are some mind-blowing low lights for him. So you take the good with the bad, and in college, you can get away with that. In the pros, you're going to be on the bench very soon. It's just not something that you can sustain of, hey, I know I threw a touchdown, and then I threw a backwards interception. You're not starting next week. So that's kind of and then he's got a great arm. They all have great arms. I know you don't get to the NFL without a good arm, but some guys have stronger arms than others. He just has this ability to flick his wrist and off the ball goes. Personally, I'm passing on Shuck at pick 33. I think that's way too early for him. I think the cons are way too alarming, and I've got too many alarm bells going off to use the 33rd overall pick on a flyer. You can use that Bills pick and you got round 3 on a flyer. If it doesn't work out, missing on a 3rd rounder should not set you back. The Browns have done that a handful of times as of late. You know, Anthony Schwartz might have set them back for not running a route against the Cardinals or the Texans, but no, missing on 3rd rounders is not going to be something that sets you behind. Missing on pick 33, you're going to feel that pain. That's going to wear on you a little bit. So I'd rather play the safer route because there's no way anyone thinks to open up day 2 of the draft that Louisville quarterback is the best player on the board. So which quarterback do you want the Browns to select? I know a lot of you would like Shedeur Sanders. If I had to pick one, it's Cam Ward. I don't expect him to escape the Titans at number 1. I don't expect the Browns to trade up at number 1. So for me, I'm looking at round 3 guys, kind of that sweet spot of there's still some good talent and potential there, but if it doesn't work out, it only cost you a 3rd rounder. And the name that comes up to me the most, and it's not a popular one for a lot of our viewers, Kyle McCord. On to the rest of round 2. We can kind of just fly through this, but I do want to highlight a couple of names here and there. So we got Josh Simmons and Tyler Booker, a couple of offensive linemen off the board here. We got a few Buckeyes. I mean, look at this. Simmons, Ibuka, and then Quinshon Judkins, followed by Travion Henderson. For what it's worth, my preference between the 2 Ohio State running backs is Henderson. I just feel like he could be such a good, versatile, well-rounded back for a team, but both are outstanding. We have a Ohio player, Darius Alexander from Toledo, going to the Falcons at 46. Nick Scorton, if you want a pass rusher in round 2, he was very good at Purdue, did not have the same type of production in the SEC when he transferred to the Aggies. Now, corners, I don't expect Cleveland to take a good look at early in the draft, but I don't know. I said I like Jahdae Barron, so like Thomas from Florida State and Revel, these are, especially Revel, he is an outstanding athlete. He's lengthy, he's fast, but he's coming off a torn ACL, and he had a rough start to his collegiate career, let's put it that way. Another corner that I would not dislike, but I don't think is going to happen, Benjamin Morrison. In 2023, he was incredible for Notre Dame. Then he suffered a hip injury. He's got hips of a grandma, and NFL teams are probably going to be turned off of that. I could see him falling past 53 as a result. JT from Ohio State going to the Bills at 56. If I had to be like the most confident about one selection in this round 2 mock, I'd say that one right there. That just screams a Buffalo Bill draft pick. Here we go, 57 to 60 to kind of round out round 2 of the draft. We got Jalen Noel, going to the Panthers. Kyle Williams out of Washington State. That's another recent late riser. And Tate Ratledge going from Georgia to the Lions. We know the Lions love to invest in their offensive line. Will Howard goes to New Orleans. The Saints traded up to secure him in round 2 of this Field Yates mock. And then we rounded out with Alfred Collins out of Texas. So that is the recent Field Yates 2-round mock draft. If you had to grade it for Abdul Carter and Tyler Shuck being the round 1 and round 2 pick, how would you grade this? I think this is an A. I think this is an F. Now, round 1 is going to carry more weight than round 2. So I'd give it a B. If they took almost anyone other than Shuck at pick 33, it'd be an A for me. But I'm not seeing the Kool-Aid and drinking it like everyone else is right now on this guy. So let's round out today's episode by picking a card. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Bartkus? Queen of Hearts. I'm going to go with the 5 of Diamonds. No, 8 of Clubs. 8 of Clubs. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to sign off and see you guys in a few short hours for our live show today.